It's 2025, and LinkedIn Live events is one of the most difficult things uh, to achieve. You create the event on LinkedIn, then you need a streaming platform, and the streaming platform never connects to the LinkedIn event. So we have some technical things as usual, but we're coming live on here. So on the event, to let people know that we're here on this new event, thanks to LinkedIn and Restream for messing this up, but it's fine. We have a few people here. It's gonna grow. We're here together this Friday, right? So I'll start right away. I have my dear head of marketing, Andrea, in the back end. Let's start closing the music. Let's welcome everybody, and let's start rolling the show because we are here for hands-on show. Thank you for the music. Welcome everybody. Right, you're gonna be with me today for the next 40 50 minutes, and it's gonna be all hands-on. Don't worry. If you know me, you know how things roll, right? So let's kick it off right away, and let's start this. Thank you for joining. Invite your friends, colleagues, repost it on your platforms. This is the beginning of something again big. If you've been to my streams before that I used to do when I was the CEO of Task Drive before AI Operator, we've had up to 500, 600 people live, thousands of people subscribed, and we had some really great stuff. We were one of the first ones actually showing ChatGPT and how to use it with LinkedIn. And this was like a couple of years ago, right? When it just first came in. And since that day, I've been an obsessed person about ChatGPT, as you might know, and AI. And I started AI Operator for this reason. And we've been training some of the biggest companies in the world on this topic. So everybody's coming in. Welcome, welcome, welcome. On the comments, let us know where you're from, where you're connecting from. And guys, this is very hands-on. Any questions, you can put it on the comment. Anything that you want to know, any questions you have, any problems that you've been having with any AI tool, any features, we're here to solve this. This is going to be live most Fridays, right? So the aim is every Friday, but sometimes I travel, and I don't want to give you just an AI avatar of me. I want to give you myself, right? Tim, the AI operator. So let's kick it off. Andrea, can we have the next screen so I get a little bit bigger, and then we can kick this off right away? Let us know where you're connecting from. Hello, everybody. That's a little bit better. Let's get some confettis. Thank you for the confettis. I think that's Apple doing that. Thank you very much, Apple, for that. Right. If you know me, Tim Checker, I'm the AI operator. I'm very hands-on with AI, and we train hundreds and thousands of people. Now it's going to be 1,000 very soon on AI. And we have some great clients on the chat. Thank you very much. We have Ben Hoffman from London. Yes, thank you for joining. Right. And thank you for reposting that. I know the event got messed up thanks to technical stuff. This is classic Restream for us, right? Restream and LinkedIn. But anyways, we're here. It'll get better every week. It's the beginning of something big again, right? Cool, amazing. Well, today what we're gonna do is we're really gonna get into prompts, right? How to construct prompts. We're gonna do some prompt workshop kind of thing, right? We're gonna have a few prompt frameworks that I'm gonna test live for you guys, and we can discuss them. So keep the comments coming, right? So we teach this and many, many other things on this. Oh, we have Thomas from Poland as well. That's awesome. We got Adriana from Barcelona. Nice to see you here. An old friend I haven't seen in a while, right? So let's get our hands dirty right away, right? So, Andrea, can we get our prompts going? What are we talking about today, right? Let's talk about all the beautiful prompt frameworks that we're going to. So, first of all, let's discuss one quick thing, right? So you can learn any prompt frameworks, and you could, there are crazy people out there doing what is it called, mega prompts and all that kind of stuff. You could do whatever you want, but it all comes down back to these things, right? It comes down to 5 things, right? It's your task. So what you want the AI to accomplish, right? An example here is like summarizing this meeting transcript, right? So it's very important to start with your task, or have your task inside your prompt, right? These are the 5 blocks of construction or components, right, to have good prompts anyways, even if you want a framework or you don't want a framework, right? So the task, then we have the instructions, instructions, step by step in directions for how the AI should perform the task. Are we going to do all of this live? So bear with us. Don't worry. It's not just theory. You know me. It's not going to be just theory. We're going to get hands dirty. We're going to make mistakes. We're going to have a lot of fun together. So instructions here, as an example, we've had use bullet points and clear headers and provide a clear task list based on action items, right? So the task and instructions will get you already, quite there with prompting and getting better results. We've trained about 1,000 people, I say, and 90% of them, more than 90%, before we train them, has done prompts, and they've copied prompts from people. They've started on LinkedIn AI gurus. There's so many of them, right? And they don't get the output they want, right? Why? Because you need a clear task, you need a clear instructions. But what's now the king? It's not content is king. Remember, it used to be content is king, and this was one of the biggest thing before, right? Now it's not content is king. Now it's context is king, and this context is king is going to go on for quite a long time, guys, right? I can guarantee you that those days of marketing and content is king is now context is king. As AI is taking over our lives, the AI gets better and better and better and better just with context, right? And this is what every research lab, every AI company is focusing on. What are they focusing on? On making sure memory, custom instructions, being able to read your documents, being able to read your drive, and so on, right? So this is why it's very important to make sure that you have enough context, right? Okay. I think that Adriana has a great question. Where is the act as a great storyteller, marketer, or philosopher? Right, that comes into our prompt frameworks, right? It doesn't matter, because you could put that in an instruction, or you could even say in a context of what's the context you want, right? So the role you'll see in a second in our prompt frameworks, but the role, I think, it's still very gimmick, right? It's fun. It does really good stuff, and we use it. I use it quite often, but the prompt construction component is definitely not a role, right? It's not specific to a role. It's your task, it's your instructions, it's your context. What is your context? It's the background information you provide to the AI to help it, right? Oh, Antonella, nice to see you as well. Long time, awesome stuff. Like, so many familiar faces, from clients to friends, right, to all students. This is great. So context, here the example is, this meeting is our weekly marketing team catch up, where we talk about priorities, progress, and blockers. So we've given the task to summarize the meeting transcript. We've given the instruction that we want bullet points and clear headers, and provide a clear task list based on action items. We're giving it the context, right? This meeting is our weekly marketing team catch up, where we talk about priorities, progress, and blockers, right? Again, we've got 3 blocks now, 3 components that is already making you, I bet you, 100% better than your last prompt. I guarantee you that, right? Even if you want to give it a role or not a role, this is going to take you much higher than most of those mega prompts and things like that, right? So this is also why I'm talking about, task, instruction, context, parameters, and inputs, right? Which we're going to talk about parameters and input in a second. I'm talking about these to change your mindset. When you come to prompting, it's not really about, oh, let me, say act as a blah, blah. No, it's, what is the task I'm looking for? What are the instructions that I'm giving to this machine, right? What's the context that I can give? And next up, what are the parameters, right? These are constraints or requirements that set the boundaries, right? This could be the style, the tone, the length, the do's and the don'ts, or the creativity level. So going back to what Adriana said, here you could even put a parameter, and a parameter here could be to act as a strategic advisor, right? Because it is a requirement, right? It is, you're setting boundaries, right? Each time you're giving a role to an AI, you're giving it boundaries, because the AI can act any role, right? It's very generic, it's very general, right? It's huge, trained on a lot of data, right? But the second that you're giving it an act as a, whatever that role is, you're requiring it for have boundaries, right? To think like this, to answer like this person, this advisor, right? Okay. So role and stuff fun, but perimeters is the key here. And here we give a easy one, simple one, limit response to 200 words, right? And last but not least, and this is, I think, one that we don't do enough. And I say don't do enough because I've seen it from thousands of people, right? It's the input. Is there any data that you can give? Is there any examples? Examples increase the quality of your output at least 150% or more, right? Who doesn't want to increase in quality of 150% at least or more, right? So this is where you got to put an example, right? You've done that job before. You've done that campaign before. You've done that proposal before. You've done it yourself before. And if you've liked a version that you've done, why don't you bring that version and give it to the AI, give it to ChatGPT or Gemini or whatever you're using, give it as an example. You can also give bad examples, by the way. You could say, this is a bad example, this is a good example, right? And then you're given a benchmark, right? You're given some benchmarks of, and what the AI is going to do, the AI is here to please us, right? It's going to go for the good example and it's going to be, oh, okay, they gave me a bad example as well. I have to be careful with this bad example. I shouldn't do anything like this bad example, right? Okay, so very important to think about that as well, right? The input, data, examples, resources, inform the response. It could be text, it could be files, links, right? Or any structured data, right? And you have a CSV, a sheet, you don't want to import it and so on. You can even select all and put it in most models, in most large language models. You're going to have a great time. It loves any type of data, structured or even unstructured, but those are fine lines that we'll discuss in all our sessions. You know, we're going to have these very, very often every Friday, hopefully, right? And we will tackle whatever you want as well, right? Okay, so please do put that in the comments, right? So the example that we have in the input is refer to the following meeting transcript as a template, right? So we've been doing the task of summarizing a meeting transcript. We've asked in the instructions to give some bullet points and so on. In the context, we've said about what the meeting is about and so on. Of course, it can understand, but if you give the context, it's gonna, it still limits itself and it focuses, it niches down into what you want, right? And then we're given a perimeter, a simple perimeter of that. We just want 200 words and not more. And then we've given it the input of referring to the transcript, right? These 5 components are what makes a great prompt. Yeah. And you want to put a role inside it. You want to tell it that you're feeling sad, that you're feeling great. That's really up to you. Okay. That's your relationship with the AI and yourself, right? But to make your AI work for you and work well, you want to do a task, an instruction, give context, perimeters, and input in one prompt. All right. I think I'm back. This is correct back here. All right. Well, wow. Okay. I've been training people, no problem whatsoever, and our Restream has decided to um, not have me live. But I think I'm back. Yeah, am I back? Yeah, is it due to my internet or Andrea? Was it your internet? I'm not sure. Quick find AI that can help unfreeze a stream. Yes, quick find an AI that can help unfreeze a stream. Are we back, Ben? Everybody, Antonella, please give us a thumbs up. In the meantime, I think we are back, right? So we might have to review our streaming platforms because this is no good, right? So please refresh your LinkedIn's, refresh your LinkedIn's. Right, am I back? I am back, I think. I believe it's going to take some time for you to hear these things, but that's fine. Technology is a killer. Yes, absolutely. Amazing. Yes. I'm back. Thank you, Ben. Right. So we were just discussing about the components. Remember, those 5 components is to get you really increase the quality of your output with AI. I call this actually speaking to the machine. It's that simple, right? It's all about speaking to the machine. Let's get to our first framework actually. So I'll get into this. I'll change it. Don't worry, Andrea. Hopefully this is gonna work, right? So let's talk about some frameworks right away. Okay, very simple frameworks. You'll find these frameworks in marketing, LinkedIn. Everybody loves to put these things across the web, right? There's the apes and the blah blah blah. But I'm going to show you hands-on how to do these things, right? So let's think about ape is action, purpose, expectation, right? But what was important before we spoke about our components, okay? So don't forget our components for prompt construction. But here are some frameworks to help you think much faster, quicker with these things, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my ChatGPT, right? So I'm going to come to demo. I'm going to share my ChatGPT now with you. Okay, so this is my ChatGPT. You'll see in a second. Okay, that's going to come up now. Right, here we go. Let's make that a little bit bigger. Yeah, thank you very much. All right, cool. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna use our ape framework. All right. So in ape, remember, is action. Define the job or activity to be done, then give it a purpose, discuss the intention or goal, right? And the expectation, state the desired outcome. So I've got a few things ready here to make this a bit faster, right? I'll zoom in a little bit, right? So you guys can see better. So what we're doing, and I think what I could do is just to help you guys very quickly, I'll do like this. So I'm putting an action. It's to develop a content marketing strategy for our new line of sustainable linen blend clothing. Okay, so now I'm gonna give it a purpose, right? So that's because we're doing ape. It has a purpose. What's the purpose of this, right? The purpose is we want to make people excited for the clothes and increase brand awareness with our target audience, right? People interested in sustainable clothing that are timeless, resistant, and durable. This is a very simple framework. It's one of the most simple ones that we're going with first, right? But you can see how that's working, all right? And then what we're going to do last but not least is we're going to give it some expectations, right? So when we're doing these, we're already getting from beginner prompter to intermediate prompter. We'll talk about advanced prompting at some point in the next weeks. Don't worry, there's much more to prompting, okay? But here we're giving an expectation. What is the expectation? The strategy should engage our audience, create strong brand recall, and drive 25% increase in pre-orders compared to our last product line. Of course, there's a lot of data missing here. We should be able to give it, what number are we increasing from, right? But that's fine. This is good for intermediate prompting. So as we put ape, action, purpose, expectation, I'm using a very simple model at the moment, 4O. I've had a lot of people still don't use O3 because they think it's a lower model, which is, that's crazy. But 4O, O3, they're different parallel, they're different categories of models. O3, it's the most advanced model that you have access to right now, right? So if you switch to O3, things will get even better, right? But 4O is great at most tasks. But if you want to do something strategic, something very, high work, planning, strategy, advice, and stuff like that, you want to do an O3, right? but for the sake of today, we're going to use 4.0 mostly because we want it to be quick, right? Okay, cool. In the meantime, I want to see if we could, can we close the name on the bottom if that's possible? Because yeah, all right, yeah, that's fine. Thank you. All right, so as you can see, I'm getting the results already, and you'll find something very interesting that you're not gonna get, right. Is here it says here's a no flop, high impact content marketing strategy and so on. Why does it use this? Because in my custom instruction, I always say, cut the fluff, no fluff, and so on, right? So in mine, it's very custom to me. Why? Because I have my custom instructions. If you don't know, I'm taking a second to show you that as well. Go to your personalization, make sure your custom instructions are on, and make sure to fill your custom instructions. There are still people that don't do this, and they are like, oh, AI is not that good. AI is amazing. You just have to do the preparation. You have to make sure that you're good with the AI, right? So make sure that you have your customization. You have this across different large language models as well, right? So as you can see with Foro, we're getting an okay kind of output. Why? Because we've given it some clarity in what we want, right? As we've said that we want, an action plan type of thing and so on. We're getting a launch timeline, as you can see, with the 6 weeks. This is a table. This is a clean table. You can copy the table. You can take it to different places, right? You're getting success metrics, pro tips, and next steps, right? And then, as you can see, I'm getting right away a follow-up. Want me to build a full calendar, post drafts, email sequence, and say the word, right? So these LLMs are getting much better. They want to do more, and they want to please us more, right? Okay. So that's 8 for you, right? Let's just get back. Very simple: action, purpose, expectation, right? It's a great one to remember very rapidly, right? And ape, tag. There's many other simple ones that you can remember, right? I teach this in about week 2 or week 2 or 3 of our training programs. But after week 4, I tell them, forget about this. And then everybody's like, oh my God, but you spent time teaching us all this stuff, and like, was it a waste? No, it's not a waste. Why are we learning these things? We're learning these things to change our mindset, right? To change our mindset, to be able to think like this, right? This is AI is bigger than electricity, guys. We have to rechange how we do things and how we think and how we click the switch button on and change the bulb, right? This is bigger than that, right? So we have to do that. Can you customize your profile by project also? Yes, absolutely. In projects, you can, that's a great question. I'm tackling. Sorry, I know Andrea is gonna get like, hey, do your thing, my head of marketing. But Adriana has a great question here. Can you customize your profile by project also? Yes, if you come into projects, every project, let's do a quick test, right? Okay. Every project has also some instructions. So if you did want to do that role and all that kind of stuff, you can also do it in the instructions here, right? Like respond in Spanish, right? Reference the latest JavaScript documentation, and then you can add some files here as well. We'll do these in other sessions as well, right? But I wanted to answer that question very quickly here because I love to answer questions. I think this is why we're here. These are going to be more live sessions where we work together on getting the best out of AI, right? And not just ChatGPT. I can do whatever tool you want me to use, right? So just give me the shout and tell me what you want, and I'll do it because I love this stuff. If you haven't realized it yet, right? Cool. Let's go to one of my favorites. This is like the first one that I teach everybody. That I always say, keep this one at hand. And Adriana is going to be happy today because this has a role, right? So we're going to talk about race. Let's see, where is race? Race. Let's show up race on screen. Yes, race on screen, right? So this is role, action, context, and example, right? So we give it a role, we specify the role that the AI is taking, right? We give it an action, detail what action the AI needs to do, right? We give it a context, right? Provide relevant situational details. Context is king. I always say this in my training, right? Context is the most important thing for AI. As they get better, the more context they have about you and what you do, right? And then example, right? Describe the expected outcome. Remember, an example increases quality of your output massively, right? So context and then example, please, you've done that job. I repeat, you've done that job, you've done that proposal, you've done that email, you've tried that before yourself as a human, right? Put it into the AI, tell the AI, hey, here's a great example of what I've done before, right? And then the AI is gonna love that. Okay. So very important to have examples. All right, cool. So let's get into. Thank you for switching that. So yeah, that's a cue for me on saying go do the work. Right, everybody wants you to see that. In the back, we have our head of marketing. Thank you very much, Andrea, for making this work. And if you want a different session, you want to see something, reach out to Andrea, right, and say, or on AI Operators channel, wherever you want, and say, hey, I want Tim to tackle vibe coding at some point, right? I do vibe coding, right? Whatever you want, I'm very excited to potentially do it, right? So here I'm doing raw, which I'm copying from my Notion just to make it a bit quicker for us. But as here we're given a role, we're given to act as a senior business strategist, right? And we're gonna give it some action because we're doing the framework called the race, right? So race is about role, then is about action. What's the action we want? We want to develop a comprehensive market entry strategy for international expansion. Okay. So we have a role, we have some action. What are we missing? One of the most important things, right? It's context, right? So we're gonna give it context. You don't have to do these sections when you do your prompting. I'm doing it just to be a bit more obvious and just to show a little bit more how to kind of do these things, right? But you don't have to. And here we're given a context right away of we are a mid-sized SaaS company offering project management software. We are leaders in our domestic market in Germany and want to expand into 3 additional European markets and so on, right? But remember one thing, as you use your ChatGPT or some other, but not all of them has memory. ChatGPT has memory, and now it has double memory features. It has what we call saved memory. So it remembers things that you want and that it thinks is relevant and saves it in its memory, and it can pull this information. And there is reference chat history. That's a type of memory that references to all your chats if you haven't deleted them, right, or archived them. It references to everything. So if you're using your chat gpt just for one company, for your one business, right, you potentially don't even have to give this context, but you might want to give some other context, like, this is the project we're doing, this is the thing that we are on right now, right? Okay, so remember about memory features, okay? Because you might have a hard time where it remembers something and you don't want it to. If that happens as well, and you're doing a job for somebody else, for a friend, for a colleague, you might want to turn on temporary chat, which is on the top right next to your little profile picture. Okay, cool. So we've given us some context. What are we missing, guys? What are we missing? We're missing a good example, right? Okay, or so for race, there is a few ways of doing this. Actually, you can do an example, or you could do it even expectations, right? So in this case, I'm doing expectations. Sorry, right? So remember that a race is also quite flexible. And again, these are marketing things that were designed by so-called AI gurus in the early days of ChatGPT, which I like them because it helps simplify the change of mindset of how to give instructions to AI, to ChatGPT, right? And this is why, at the end of the day, it's going back to our prompt construction, right? It's all about that, those task input parameters, context, and examples, right? But we're doing different ways just to make sure that you're getting this in your mind, and you're like, oh, okay, each time I should kind of think about these things, right? Okay, so here we have expectation, which we're expecting a detailed strategic roadmap that includes market prioritization criteria, competitive landscape analysis, um, all that kind of stuff. We will use this strategy to systematically enter new markets and so on, right? So this is an example that I would definitely not do in 4.0 actually, right? So I just took that. I would do this in O3, right? Why would I do this in O3? O3, it's a reasoning model, right? What is a reasoning model? Before reasoning models, before O1, we used to teach, we still teach chain of thoughts, right? Which is think step by step and so on, right? So we're so lucky that with O3 we had, or O1, and then we had O3. We didn't have O2 because it would be trademark copyright issues with Telefonica. O2, is it Telefonica's company? I think so. Adriana would know here quite well. So we went to O3 right away, and now we have O4 Mini, O4 Mini High. We're going to have potentially O4, but I believe we might have GPT-5 before that, and we'll forget about all the other models, right? So O3, and these are reasoning models. As you can see right away, it has decided to search the web. Even if I didn't have my search tool on, O3 can make decisions. O3 can think, and O3 can go and tackle tools, meaning that with these tools, it can do search, it can do image analysis, it can do a bunch of stuff like that, which is awesome, right? So if you think about it and you want to open this, expand, you can read the reasoning. I love reading the reasoning. I tell my clients, I tell my team members of my clients, right? The team members are also my partners, my clients, right? To read this, because we see on the news that AI is making people dumber or stuff like that, students and kids and stuff like that. But if you start reading the reasoning, you learn so much from AI. I've learned a ton. I think I got much smarter since AI, since ChatGPT and stuff has been here, right? Because especially with the reasoning models, because I read these things, that I look at it. How does it think about these things, right? How does it think about developing the strategic roadmap? What is GDPR NIS2? Oh, okay. What is that critical regulation in Netherlands, Spain? I need to research that, right? It searched the web, it searched some queries, and it's really done a good job, right? And again, we're getting zero fluff, TLDR. Why zero fluff? Because my custom instruction says, cut the fluff, no fluff, zero fluff, right? So I'm quite strict about that with my AI. So I'm getting that, right? As you can see with O3, the output that we're going to have is going to be very, very strategic, right? We're getting a massive market prioritization framework table of different countries, right? And you can see the criteria. As you can see, this is great. This is awesome. These are searched live, right? We saw the search. We can ask for the source. We can see the sources, right? Competitive landscape, regulatory compliance checklist, localization playbooks, partnership and channel strategy. As you can see, we've got key risk mitigation, final pushback, and so on. We've got something very good, right? Stay ruthless on focus. 3 markets in 18 months is doable only if you resist the urge to half launch 5, right? This is awesome because we used one or three, which is one of the top models at the moment in the world. For me, especially, I use O3 all day, every day, right? And we've given it a very okay prompt, right? Because we've asked a view of business strategies. We've given it some action. We've given them context, and we've given expectations, right? So that's the race, right? Role, actions, context, and then you can do expectations or examples. This is really up to you, And you're gonna forget about these frameworks at some point, but practice them today, right, for a while, and then they'll become second nature for everybody. Right? Awesome. We got another question. Let's see. What did Adriana? Oh, I think I clicked at the same time. Sorry. Where are the sources? Right, the sources on here. You can ask it to find the sources, or if you come in here, you'll start seeing the sources are on these searches, right? So if you see it's done this search, and all these are coming from these websites, Adriana, right? So if you go in the reasoning, right, you'll find the sources. If I click on this, it's going to change my tab, right? You're going to have, this is a source that was used. If my screen switches, by the way, I don't think it's switching. Yeah, it's not switching. So I just clicked on the website, right? It opens up. That's where it's taking the sources from, right? Can we have the references, Adriana? If you want to be like that, what you could do, the one of the best things is, if you want to be, you use deep research, right? Deep research will have all the sources cited and so on, right? Okay. I suggest you use deep research for that type of things. Yeah, Perplexity does references. I'm not going to say anything bad about Perplexity, but check both outputs and you'll tell me which one you think is better, right? Do deep research in ChatGPT and do deep research in Perplexity and come back to me, right? Or watch my YouTube video about the comparison of deep researches. Yeah, that's a good one, right? I just remember that, right? ChatGPT deep research is still one of the best deep researches there is out there. Okay, so I suggest you testing ChatGPT deep research, right? Okay, so my screen got frozen, so I'm gonna reshare. I'm gonna replace this screen share, and then we'll have a fresh one. Here we go. Right, I tried to click on that, and then we got some frozen stuff. Perplexity is okay. ChatGPT Deep Research is one of the best ones out there at the moment, right? Gemini 2.5 Pro with Deep Research is good. It's a little bit less reliable, a tiny bit less reliable, and it's a little bit more bland. Perplexity Deep Research, watch my YouTube video. I did a deep research about my name, and Perplexity has invented many, many sources and many, many things that I've said, Adriana. Right? Thank you. Watch videos about the latest AI updates on Tim's YouTube channel at Tim Chaka on YouTube. Right? And then I have a deep research one there. I'm comparing Gemini, Perplexity, and ChatGPT, and you'll see. You tell me what you think, right? Cool. Awesome. We've done ape, we've done race. What do we got? We got rice. There's rice as well. Some places we're not going to do that today. I think we're doing rise today, which is role, input, steps, and expectations, right? So again, specify the role, input, describe the information or resource, steps, ask for AI, ask for the detailed steps, and expectations, describe the desired results, right? Okay, so let's try this. It's quite similar. They're all very similar, guys, right? This is what I wanted to say. They're all very similar. And why we do so many of these is just to tease you in remembering these things, right? So I just copied paste to be a bit faster because I speak a lot, I know. But here we're given a role as a content strategist where I given some input about detail about target audience, right? Which you should be adding this file. We're not adding this file at the moment. We're asking some steps, provide a step-by-step content strategy. Here, you could also say step 1, do this, step 2, do this, right? Step 3, do that, step 4, and so you can give it the steps that you want, right? And especially if you do that with O3 and you give it like steps of like tools, functions, right, to search, to summarize, to do these kind of things, it will do that, right? And then expectations at the end, right? Again, if I do this with O3, what I love about O3 is going to start thinking about it, right, and it's going to do the job. If we did the same thing with a easier model, like with a 4.0, oh, I should have not changed that there. Sorry. Let's go while that's doing that. Let's do it with an 4.0. All right. 4.0 is GPT 4.0 is generative pre-trained transformers, right? So this gets, as you can see, the speed of the answer is much faster. It doesn't call in any tools. It doesn't think through things. It doesn't reason things through, right? And it just does the job, right? And it goes boom. This comes from the training data right away, right? From the training data, it makes assumptions, not assumptions, but it predicts the next tokens right away, and it gives you the answers of what you should be looking for, right? But the other model, right, as we know, right? Let's get to our other model. I have to refresh. Sometimes if you don't find something, make sure to refresh it, right? The other model, as you can see, it has thought for 28 seconds, right? And then it didn't give me the output because I left, I guess, which it should have, right? But this other, and one thing that people forget as well, if you want to redo something, let's say that you also had, an hour with ChatGPT and you're somewhere and it started to go off the rails, which happens and people complain all the time. You can go back to the point where it started to go off rails. You can edit that message and you can click it again, right? So let's say you had 20 messages, right? And then you're like, oh, this is getting bad, but it was good before that, and you get frustrated. Go back a step, click on the little pen, edit it if you want, or don't edit it, and enter it again, right? You'll have another version, right? And if you edit it again and you put some more information, you'll have a better, or you'll start going into different directions, right? Not many does that, right? So remember to do that as well. Okay. Awesome. Awesome. Cool. So this is going to give us an output that is going to be potentially, not potentially, it's going to be much better, right? Because it's thought for 32 seconds, thought, right? And as you can see, it's doing operator edition because it knows about me, right? And it's translating the Rose research into 5-7 questions, right? And it's going to go, as you can see, very different than the output of 4.0, right? There's going to be much strategic, much more thought through, if you want to say it like that, right? Cool. Okay. So that was Rise, right? We have a couple of other frameworks very quickly that we should tap into. Let's tap into Care. Let me speed things up, right? Because we want to see if there's any other questions. But you're asking the questions as we go. I love to answer questions as we go along. So please keep him coming as you go along. But here, let's talk about care, right? So what is care? Care is another framework, another framework, content, action, result, example. As you can see, they're all very similar, right? It's just that as you practice a few of them, you'll remember context, set the stage, or context for the chat. Action, describe what you want to be done. Result, describe the desired outcome. Examples, give an example to illustrate to your point, right? Let's do a quick demo when we're doing that. When you want to use only documents that are in the reference and no need to online inside a project, is better to use GPT-4, correct? You do not want reasoning or other sites. GPT-4, I mean, let's talk about that. Let me just remove this because I think that's an important question. Thank you, Adrian. So if you want documents that are in it and you want to reference them, there is no better or worse, right? So if you go on a project, of course, as you saw on our test project, you can upload files here, right? You can upload PDFs, you can upload text, you can upload docs, and so on, right? And the instructions, you could give it, don't do anything else but look at the documents and things like that, right? But is it a 4.0 better or not? Because in projects, you can use an O3, and O3 is much smarter than a 4.0, right? So if you really want to do, something with some documents, I do O3 still, right? And do you have to be in a project? No, a project should be if you're going to do many different chat threads about that, right? So if you're going to have, that, like, I mean, when you look at my projects, you'll understand, I have sales FUs. It's not FUs like that. Follow-ups, home projects, right? I have my one-on-ones with my team members. I have different things. These are things that I keep coming back to, right? These are projects, they're like folders, but that has files and instructions that I'm going to keep coming back to, right? But if you're doing a monthly, I don't know, something that you're going to do it once, right? You can do it on just O3, upload it on O3, right here, upload it, and you're gonna have you're gonna reference that context here as well. That document is gonna be inside your O3. O3 is much smarter. Adriana, yes, 15 documents as well. I believe you have. Is it 10 documents a limit or is it 20? In GPTs is 20, right? But oh yeah, I think in O3 it's 10. But what you could do, Adriana, which is great, you could do 10 and then say, don't say anything else. I'm going to upload 10 more, upload 10 more, and it still will have the context, right? Because at the end of the day, this is context window, right? So how many tokens is the context window? 128K, right? So it's how many syllables, right? Tokens are kind of like syllables, right? Gemini has 2 million context window, right? So if you want something where you want to put 77 books or something like that, right? Then you want to go with something like Gemini as the highest context window, right? But O3 is going to do the job with your 15 documents, right? So I'd still do that. Main difference between GPTs and projects. Yeah, this is the question of the century almost, right? There is only one difference for me. One major difference in each, right? In projects, right, you don't have actions, right? So you have files, you have instructions, which you have in GPTs as well. In projects, you can switch models, right? You could use a 404 mini high. You can use a O3, a 4.0. What? You have some tools, right, according to the model, right? But you don't have actions, right? If we go into GPTs very quickly, GPTs, you have what we call actions, right? So if you come in here, GPT, I created a new GPT. I went on the way on the bottom and I said actions. And in actions, I have actions. Actions are a very advanced way for GPTs to go and do work outside the box, right? The box is ChatGPT, right? And actions, you can pull in information from different APIs, from different tools, from different integrations, and so on. It can be a tiny bit more technical, but they have an actions GPT to help you think through these OpenAI schemas so that you can tackle and get information, pull or push information into other software platforms, APIs, databases that are outside ChatGPT, right? So that's really the main difference is that because if you come back, you have also upload files, you have some tools as well that you can enable, right? But you don't have actions in projects, right? Okay. So that's really the main difference. And the other slight difference is GPTs, you don't have actually a folder, right? GPTs, with a GPT, you make any chat, that it just goes into your chat here, right? But with projects, you're keeping everything in under one roof, right? And all your chat threads are here in the bottom, right? So actually, I think they're going to change the name of projects into folders, right? We're going to see that because we saw it in the code. Right now, they're testing something, so very soon we might have a change. Projects might become folders because right now it's very weird that we have almost 90% the same thing, but we don't have actions inside projects, and we can't tackle GPTs from here, by the way. So you can't really come in and use a GPT from here, which sucks, right? So if you want to use a GPT, you have to use it from a new chat, right? And for many that doesn't know, an at sign, you can call in whatever GPT you want, right? And you can have different GPTs in one chat. So you can start with your life coach, finish the task, call in another GPT inside the same thread. And because you're inside the same thread, it has the context that is above, right? So if you bring in a new GPT, right, it still has the context that is on above. But remember, there's a limit in tokens. So the more you write and the more information, it might cut the information that is at the top in the beginning because the context window is following you, right? Okay, these are technical things, I know, but we're gonna tackle them every week, right? So we're here almost every week now. Wow, right? Okay, all right. I got a message from my dear marketeer here and said, "Shut up and just continue with the plan." Right? Thank you very much for that, because you know me, I can speak for hours because I love these topics. I speak about these every day for hours with many, many, many different clients with some of the world's biggest companies, right? So here we do care, right? Context, action, result, example. We've given a B2B software company as a context. We've given action to get a 3 months go to market strategy, some results we're looking for, and an example that we had. Same thing, right? Same thing, but in a different way. Okay. This is just another framework to think about. All right. So frameworks are great to remember in the beginning, practicing, 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 practicing. But when you prompt like last 2.5, what's almost 3 years soon, like me, I don't think about these frameworks anymore. I teach these frameworks and I want people to think about these frameworks, but I most of the time get the results I want from AI, right? There's not been times I'm like, oh, I can't get the results I want because I think AI first, right? Okay. Cool. So we got something, as you can see, 4.0 much faster, a bit more generic, like, O3 will go into reasoning. Don't forget that. All right, let's tackle the last framework very quickly then. What do we have? What do we have? We have roses, I think. Let's see roses. Roses, very similar again, right? Which is role, specify the role, objective, right? Give it a state or a goal you're aiming for, give it a scenario, describe the situation you're in, right? It's kind of like context at the end of the day. Give it an expectation, like define the desired outcome, and give it some steps, like ask for actions needed to reach the solution. Let's test that out very quickly as well, right? While we're here, this is just a teaser of all of the weeks that are coming. So we're starting with the simplest things today, which is prompting. It's not simplest, but we teach this in the first 4 weeks of our training programs, and then we get into much more crazy stuff, right? And every week we'll be aiming to be live with different things. We're doing features, tools, platforms, questions. So please don't hesitate to reach out to Andrea or to myself or to AR Operators LinkedIn page and tell us what you want to see in these sessions, because we love to bring you value. But here we have an experienced project manager as a role. We have an objective of improving the team's productivity, jobs, and job satisfaction. We have a scenario that we're an eight-person team that is overwhelmed and competing priorities and so on, which happens to all of us. And then we have an expectation here of we want practical prioritization framework. We have some steps to create a comparison prioritization system. This I definitely would use an O3 as well, but for speed and to get things done a little bit quicker. Right now, I'm using 4.0. Right, 4.0 is faster, as you can see. Boom, we're getting the results already. Okay, so you might ask, when you want to use what? It's really up to you. But I would say in the beginning, as you're practicing these things, try them on both. Try them on O3, try them on 4.0, try them on 4.5 or 4.1. Look at the results. Right? Look at the results. compare the results, right? I know that Andrea here, since she joined us as well at the AI Operator, she's been testing it not just on different models, but she's been testing on different tools, like different ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, and different large language models as well, right? And not just on OpenAI's platform, ChatGPT, but also on Anthropic's platform, Claude, on Google's platform, Gemini, or on Perplexity, as Adriana seems to be a lot very keen on Perplexity, right? Great. So yep, Andrea said yep, testing lots. Yes, that's our job here. We test. We create content, right? And then I train people on these things. Awesome. We're that was our frameworks, right? So what do we have next? I think, can we show what we have next? So you saw the output of that, right? Put it on O3 is going to be better. Awesome. So next week, we have ChatGPT models, how and when to use each one. That's really fun. So that's what we're talking about. We'll see O3, 4.0, 4.1, 4.5. We'll test maybe tools as well at the same time, and so on, right? So we have a few weeks already in our minds, but we can change these things if we get a lot of requests on certain things, or maybe a new feature, a new large language model comes in. We can change things all the time. Thank you for joining. If you have any questions, this is the moment to ask before we disconnect. I'm checking if there are any other questions. All right. So next week, we have ChatGPT models. I think that we had some LinkedIn issues, right? And we couldn't publish our next event yet, but follow, please, our LinkedIn page, right? Our LinkedIn page, AI Operator. It's going to get much more heated every week. We're going to have a lot of things, a lot of content, great content coming, right? Thank you, Andrea, for the marketing, right? And then we're going to have all these sessions that I'll be presenting, right? They're going to be hands-on, as you saw. They're going to get even more hands-on, right? This is the things that we do with our clients. We train them, custom training, 12-week AI First Mindset training program for our clients, right? They're custom to their company and industry. And here, what we'll do is we'll do a little bit more generic, right? Of course. But yes, thank you for that QR code. If you haven't, checked AI Operator yet, become an AI Operator. You want to train your team to use AI. Our training program makes AI skills accessible and actionable for your entire team. We work with small to medium-sized businesses. Usually we like businesses that has 50 team members or so at least, because that gives us very, very high value that we deliver and a great return on investment for our clients. We've seen, minimum 10x increase in quality, efficiency, output, and so on, right? So this was Tim Chucker, CEO of AI Operator, right? I think signing off. Am I? Yeah, I think so. Right. Check us out every week. Right. Thank you very much. Every week here on Fridays, most week. Thank you. Have an awesome weekend. Cheers, everybody.